This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. Yeah. I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. He was somehow able to squeeze Colbert out of CBS. Then he turned his sights on me, and now he's openly rooting for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the hundreds of Americans who work for their shows who don't make millions of dollars. And I hope that if that happens, or if there's even any hint of that happening, you will be 10 times as loud as you were this week. We have to speak out against this.
That was Jimmy Kimmel pulling no punches in his return to television after free speech champion Donald Trump had his FCC goon pressure Disney into taking him off the air. And frankly, Kimmel made an absolute mockery of the ways in which Trump, this self-styled crusader for free speech, has comported himself over the last week, using dictatorial tactics to force his dissenters into silence like this is North Korea. And let's be clear, no one was more complicit in the scheme than the FCC chairman Brendan Carr, and Jimmy Kimmel reserved plenty of time just for him.
Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. In addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public. Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although, I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing Carr Republicans have embraced since this one. And that's saying something. The FCC has a tradition of meddling where they shouldn't under many administrations, but it wasn't always like this. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, who later was appointed chairman of the FCC by this former crusader for free speech.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down.
That was also in 2022. And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel had, look, he was fired. He had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight.
And he's right. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the biggest audience that Kimmel has ever had. And frankly, was this what Trump was looking for? To place himself firmly in the censorship category while handing the biggest audience yet to Jimmy Kimmel? See, that's where Trump royally fucked up, because in his effort to quell free speech in the United States, all he did was put the Streisand effect on full display. He sent the eyes of the nation to the guy who he was trying to silence and gave him the biggest megaphone he's ever had. And Kimmel used that megaphone to put on full display what a farce Trump's claims of free speech actually are. Trump is a champion for free speech like Matt Gaetz is an appropriate babysitter. Trump is a champion for free speech like Eric Trump is the smart one. Trump is a champion for free speech like Lauren Boebert goes to the musicals because she likes the acting. And now, the entire country, the world, frankly, knows it. And by the way, there were plenty of Republicans who deserve credit for standing up for Kimmel's right to be on air. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Tucker Carlson, I agree with them on nothing, but at least they didn't position themselves as pro-censorship like some of those clowns on the right who pretended that Kimmel's show being pulled was quote-unquote business decision.
I've never heard them care about the Constitution so much. Their First Amendment. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. This has to do with the business decision, as you noted.
So the decision to suspend and I suspect eventually cancel Kimmel is a business decision by ABC.
But similar to Kimmel, he's getting the boot because, well, he was just bad for business.
You can like or not like Disney's decision on Kimmel. But until I see proof of actual government coercion of their decision, this is about Disney making a business decision about its brand.
Yeah, that was obviously a business decision, as evidenced by the fact they're going to reinstate him. I think he's going to be on the air later tonight. So I think it was a business decision.
And if ABC wants to suspend you because you got wrong the assassin of Charlie Kirk, more power to them. That's got nothing to do with the First Amendment. That's a business decision.
Yeah, Kimmel being pulled was a business decision, kind of like how Ted Cruz's accent was good.
We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
But you know what? I'm not even going to make fun of Ted Cruz because he doesn't deserve it tonight. So I will not say that his accent sounds more like Count Dracula than Joe Pesci. I will simply say that it's got to be really fucking embarrassing for all those free speech champions on the right who had the opportunity to back up years of grandstanding and yet failed to do so at the easiest moment. These people have zero credibility and they showed their entire asses this week. Now, there was one thing that Kimmel said in particular that I understand was a joke, but also kind of not.
Disney has asked me to read the following statement, and I agreed to do it. Here we go. To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account, open the Disney Plus app on your smart TV or TV-connected device.
Remember, according to Business Insider, the chatter online has also translated to an increase in people Googling instructions on how to cancel the network, even as many conservatives, including Trump, praised the decision to suspend Kimmel. Search volume for cancel Disney Plus reached a 12-month high on Thursday, according to Google Trends, and continues to be elevated. Searches like boycott Disney Plus and boycott Disney are also listed as breakout searches on Google. Searches for cancel Hulu also soared. I should also note that not everyone got to watch Kimmel because Nexstar and Sinclair, both media organizations that own affiliate channels, opted not to air Jimmy Kimmel's show in the affiliate channels that they own. So knowing that organized action works, here's what I ask. Do not reward those networks with your business, with your attention, with your eyeballs. If you find the advertisers on those networks, let them know how you feel about them sponsoring literal censorship. We have learned this week that money talks, so use yours to say exactly what you want to say. And in the meantime, good on Jimmy Kimmel for coming out swinging, good on Kimmel for not pulling his punches, good on Kimmel for standing for what's right, and I hope the rest of the country sees the danger of a thin-skinned, fragile old man who would rather act like a tyrant than take a fucking joke. I've got a list of countries that he would be better suited for, and none of them are America. And tonight, the entire country understands exactly why. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.